This is EllaJane Doran Peterson story. My great-grandmother, Grandma Bernice's mother. When EllaJane was a little girl, probably about 8 or so, her mother had another baby and a second boy. Her mother's name was Sarah. And she died after childbirth. And her husband and my great-great-grandfather, Edward James, was so crushed. He left Ella with one of the boys with a sister, and then he left the baby with his parents, I guess, or somebody. And he took off. They didn't see him for 5 years. He was in the mountains as a mountain man, just living like that. And then he got into the Civil War. And he was in the Civil War for a long time. He said that he tried to get killed every time. He had horses shot out from under him, and he survived, which is unusual. His little younger brother, who was a twin, didn't make it. And they were all concerned about that. But he wrote a letter home to his parents saying how sorry he was that he'd been gone so long. And that when he got home, he was going to get a pony for the boys. And he had something nice for Ella. And he did not know that one of his little boys had fallen off the hay wagon, broke his neck, and died. It's a tragedy. There's tragedy in all lives. Everywhere, isn't there? But this is Grandma's little story. It's not very long. When Grandpa Jesse died, she just moved in with Uncle Jay, her son. Uncle Jay was the one Mama was sitting on the steps smoking with one time. Or maybe it was Max. Grandma poked her head out the door and said, "What are you doing?" She says, "Having a smoke with Uncle Max." Sassy she could be. That was my Mama. Anyway, Grandma EllaJane moved in with Jay. She was curly redhead with beautiful hair at one time. She had a serious illness once that they thought was typhoid fever. Grandpa Jesse took care of her and had a hard time combing her curly hair. Curly hair was so thick and badly snarled. He cut it, and somehow her never grew back again like it was before. This was in Illinois, on the plains somewhere, when she had the typhoid. So they did it, stopped. Because of her illness, they wouldn't go on. They waited there, some town there, and the kids started to school. But Max was not old enough. But they sent him anyway, and I guess he would leave school, go out one door as they put him in the other door. He didn't want to go to school. Grandma EllaJane was not very tall. She was only 5 feet 2 inches, and Grandpa was over 6 feet. She had fair complexion, just filled out, not skinny and not overly fat. She always wore a clean apron every day. And in those days, they wore one outfit for a week. Then they put the clean aprons on to cover the front of their dress to keep it clean. She was a teacher, a good cook, and she made quilts. She made 12 quilts. The winter she lived with Lee and Bernice. She pieced them by hand, sewed them by hand. And friends and neighbors came in to quilt them. She made all of the kids a quilt, made all of the kids clothes, so she had lots of pieces to use. She was a hard worker, pleasant, liked to read, and had a very, very soft voice. One day she went out to the garden and usually took a hoe with her, But this day she didn't, and she found a rattlesnake. She didn't want to leave it, so she was calling, "Pap, Pap, Pap." That's what she called her husband. He couldn't hear her as her voice was so soft. Maxie and the other kids had to tell him she was calling for him to come and kill the snake. They were always fighting snakes wherever they lived, it seemed like. Rattlesnakes all over the place.